There's three things we could do. Even though most of us are not scholars, most of us haven't done the type of critical investigative research I thought. Most of us are engineers, mathematicians, or et cetera. We're not social scientists. We're not critical historians. We don't have PhDs in history and the social sciences. Even so, we could still do some things. We could start to approach that issue of separating religion and culture by just being, as Amina said, introspective, by asking ourselves the question, what if? Are we doing something wrong? What things might we be doing wrong? And we could start to the best, with the knowledge we possess, we could already start making progress. We could start saying what things in this religion are more tradition and what things are essential. Because in this context, we have to make that separation. Because we are trying to take this religion to these Americans, these second and third generation and converts and non-Muslims. And when we do that, we don't want to burden them with a lot of extra things. We want to only take them to the essentials, because if you add something that is not essential, you're going to draw them away from the religion. You're going to obscure the truth. So for example, here's just a very simple example. I talked about the seclusion of women that exist in many Muslim communities, especially their denial of the ability to attend the prayer on the same floor with the men, as they do, for example, in Mecca and Medina. Let us take that issue, brothers and sisters. Let us just say, hypothetically, that even though that might be a viable cultural interpretation in another country, let us say that that is not, strictly speaking, essential to the religion. Let us say that we looked in the Prophet's record, peace be upon him, and we saw that men and women interacted in the mosque in Medina. Oh, I only need 5. Men and women interacted in the mosque of Medina, attended the prayers in the mosque of Medina, that was a family-friendly environment. Let's say we could prove that case. And I think we can. But let's say we can. I don't want to argue it now. But let's say this seclusion practice that is being practiced in our community is not really necessary, essential to the religion. You may have rationalizations for it, but let's say it's not essential to the religion. And now count how many Americans who were interested in Islam, who showed interest in this religion, how many of our children have left the religion aside because of that one issue. Because of that one issue. If that is not essential to this religion, if it is not, strictly speaking, required by this religion, and everywhere that is practiced, that is obscuring people from seeing the truth of Islam, then it's not the press that is driving those people away from the religion. It is not some it's not some Western conspiracy that is preventing them from seeing the truth of Islam. It is us. It is us. It's just a hypothetical question. For how many people in this country is the truth of Islam obscured by practices and notions that we have no explicit divine warrant? All those traditions, if we impose them on people, however small, they could be a barrier between them and the truth of Islam. And the Quran criticizes this, says in no uncertain terms, have you considered what provisions God has sent down for you and how you made some of it haram and some of it halal of your own making? Say, has God indeed permitted you, or do you invent a lie concerning God? It was talking to the mushrikeen, people who associate with God that which is not of God. They make something sacred that God specifically did not enjoin. And it criticizes them for that. And it says in another verse, and say not for anything you invent, this is halal and this is haram, so that you invent a lie against Allah. Because when you do that, you commit, as we all know, shirk. Associating with God that which is not of God. And why is that such a serious sin? Is it because God is a jealous God? Is it because his feelings get hurt? Is it because of some personal divine problem? No. The problem with any kind of shirk, making something sacred that God has not made sacred, the problem with that is you obscure the truth. And you place a barrier between the truth and that person. And give them an excuse and a reason not to even consider your religion. That's the problem. And the Quran gives trivial, almost seemingly trivial examples. It criticizes in a very harsh way the Meccan polytheists because they used to slit the ears of cattle. And condemns them for that. For doing that without any divine warrant. Something so small, you're saying? Something so small? The problem is when you do that, maybe you think it's small, but later on for another person, that could be give him a reason to dismiss your faith. Oh, look at that. Look what they do. Oh, I can't consider that religion. That can't be the truth. That's ridiculous. You know? Quran gives many examples of that nature. I'll give you a very simple one. The term son of God. The Jews say Ezra is the son of God. The Christians say Jesus is the son of God. That is the saying with their mouths, imitating the statements of disbelievers of old, of deniers of old. What's the problem here? Well, in the mouth of the Jews, yes, they called Ezra the son of God. They called many other Jews the son of God. In Jewish history, in Jewish terminology, that means one who is loved by God. One who has a special relationship, a special affinity to God. It doesn't have a literal meaning. So what's the problem with using that terminology? Because what happened to it? This terminology, which had no divine warrant, no explicit divine warrant, when it came to Christianity, began to be taken literally. Jesus is the Son of God. God the Son, second person of the Trinity. Do you know there are millions, tens of millions of people in the West that are now atheists and agnostics exactly because of that? They think the statement doesn't make sense. So by just introducing a terminology like that without any divine warrant has created a huge barrier between people and realizing the relationship with God. So what else can we do? This is the last thing I want to suggest. Yes, we should be more open, create a more open, tolerant environment, invite these kids back into our communities, and be open and tolerant, and let them have their, let them air their opinions. And when I talk about kids, I'm not just talking about kids, I mean converts as well. Create a more open environment for research and discussion. Yes, we need to do that. Second, we must make every effort to separate what is essential from Islam from what is not essential to Islam. And we have to really develop some good, vigorous, critical Muslim scholarship in this country. Because right now, really, brothers and sisters, I mean, let's be honest, we just really don't have any real good critical scholars in this country. I mean, come on. Most of our hadith scholars are former engineers. Most of us going around the country lecturing have degrees in something. We haven't learned real research techniques in any of these areas. Let's just be honest. Our scholarship compared to Western scholarship on religion looks almost juvenile. I'm sorry to say it, at least as far as this country is concerned. And I count myself as much at fault as any of us. But the third thing we could do is follow the model that God gave us in the Quran and in the Prophet's life example. What model am I speaking of? Before you know where you're going, you have to know where you're coming from. You have to know where you are right now. If I want to get from here to Lawrence, Kansas, I better find my place on the map. Well, where are we right now as a community? If I look at the two phases of the Prophet's mission, peace be upon him, the Mekkah phase and the Medina phase, which phase would you think this community is closer to right now? The Mekkah phase, obviously. I mean, I don't even have to make the argument to you. We're surrounded by a huge culture that hasn't received our message, hasn't even considered our message. And we've faced some discrimination. We're a tiny minority. We're taking a new message. We're facing a tremendous jahiliyyah, to use the Arabic term. That's our situation. We're closer to the Mekkah phase. In the Mekkah phase, if we're in the Mekkah phase, then we should be following, more or less, in trying to bring people back into this religion, the Meccan model, following the Mekkah plan. And now if we look to the Quran, we'll find that 3%, you just take all the verses in the Quran that are of a legal nature, and then count all the verses of the Quran, take the quotient, and you'll find out that about 3% of them are commands and prohibitions, divine commands and prohibitions. 97% of the Quran teaches ethics, the relationship between God and man, the purpose of life, morality, other truths as well. The history of nations in the past teaches us how to be self-critical, how to use reason and faith, the extreme importance of using reason and faith, teaches many, many major themes. You know what I was taught when I became a convert? Rules, rules, rules. If I hadn't studied this religion myself and entered this religion and all I received were rules, 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 I would have left it the next day. Thank God I read the Quran first. If we're going to draw these indigenous people, our own children, that second, third, and fourth generation, those converts and non-Muslims into this religion, let us begin by following the model established by God himself through his prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. As he once said to Mu'adh bin Jabal on his way to take the dual leadership of the community in Yemen, he said, as you all well know, he said, first teach them that there is no God but God, and that Muhammad is his messenger. And when they have fully understood that, then teach them how to pray. And when they become consistent in that, and they've developed in that fully, then teach them about fasting during Ramadan. And then once they've accomplished that, then teach them what? About paying zakat and making the hajj. And so forth and so on. He said, make things easy for people and do not make them difficult, and inform them of the glad tidings and do not repulse them. I mean, you've all heard it before. You've all heard it before. Do we practice that here? We're trying to win these kids back over to this religion. We're trying to bring a community of people into listening to this religion. And the first thing we do is get them in that door. We tell them, okay, you cover your hair, you do this, get rid of the gold. Okay, don't do this, don't do that, don't do that. I don't mind telling the people what are the Muslim behaviors or whatever. But that's become we are obsessed with only that. I've attended Friday prayers for 20 years now in this country. And every Friday it's the same thing. The speeches are either political, about Muslim politics, or they're about rules and regulations, or somebody's diatribe about problems going on in the Muslim community. They never discuss the other 97% of the Quran. Virtually never. Or else it's just brief allusions to that. And be tolerant. When we bring people into our community, don't expect them to become Middle Easterners or Arabs or Pakistanis or Sri Lankans the next day or ever even. Give them time to grow into the religion. Give them the space to grow. Give them the room to grow. Give them the right to ask. Give them the right to question. Give them time to develop. The Quran gave them 13 years in Mecca and then slowly but surely brought them along after that. We always put the cart before the horse. Give them time. If our kids come to our community not so modestly dressed, it's better that they come than not come at all. We have to start, if they have this or that problem, if their behavior is not perfect from our particular perspective, it's better that they come and hear the message. It's better that they work out for themselves what it is to be a Muslim in America. Because that's the generation that's going to have to take this into the future. It's better for them to be among us than not to be among us. If the Prophet and his companions adopted our approach, there'd probably be no Muslims today. How about the time the man came and he urinated in the mosque in that famous hadith report? The companions were ready to kill the guy. The report says that they already had their hands on him. How do you know? Because the report says the Prophet said, let him go. Go get some water and pour it over it. You've been sent to make things easy for people, not to make them hard. Let's follow the Mekkah plan. Let's just give it a try. Do I think, because I've said this to you today, you're going to go out and try it? No way, Jose. But if some of you here care about your children, if some of you care about the people of America, want to bring them this message, then I beg you to give it a try. Establish a mosque, a halfway house, call it whatever you want. Make it so that people who feel shy to come to the regular mosque will come to that as they are, to hear the message and to pray, even though they're not perfect, even though they may have flaws that you think you see. No matter what you see, establish an institution where we could follow that Mecca plan. Am I talking to the leadership of masjids here? No, because they'll never do what I just said. Am I talking to the leaders of America? No, not at all. They have their leadership, their positions to protect. I'm talking to the parents. I'm talking to the young Muslim men and women, the few of you that are here today. I'm talking to that second generation. I'm talking to those converts. Please just do it. And the rest of the community, instead of slandering them and complaining about them and making up all sorts of strange slanders and gossip about them, just give them your support. Give them your support. Know that those people are on a mission to take this message to the greater community. I know that some of you can't tolerate that, and I understand that. And as Harry Truman used to say, you can't take that kind of environment, so if you can't stand the heat, just stay out of the kitchen. But for those people that are going to take the heat and are willing to work with real Americans and to show the patience and the tolerance and the wisdom and to carry out this plan that Allah once carried out with the people of Mecca and spread throughout the world, for those people who are willing to engage in that, to invest the time, energy, effort, resources, to take out ads in the paper, to publicize this venture, please, at least don't stand in their way, even if you're not willing to give them your support. I had a lot of other things I had to say, but you're looking as exhausted as I feel, so thank you so much, and for at least hearing me out. And may Allah bless you, and bless you and your children, and your children's children. And Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.